this week's drive, we try out the champion's new Ferrari, see the big British Bentley back on track, drive the car of the future, and go beach racing on 4 wheels. All this and more in this week's Drive. Formula One team Sauber have big plans for 2003. The Hallenstadion in Zurich, Switzerland's largest indoor arena, was an appropriate place then for the official launch of their new C22 car. Last year they finished a distant 5th in the Constructors' Championship behind Renault, but boss Peter Sauber believes they can mount a serious challenge for 4th place this year. After stints at Williams, Jordan, Arrows and Prost, the highly experienced German driver Heinz-Harald Frentzen is back with the team where he began in Formula One in 1994.
Well, I expect to have an exciting season. I'm looking very much forward to join the Sauber team again after some years, so I'm really looking forward for it.
He'll partner compatriot Nick Heidfeld, now coming into his 3rd season with Sauber. Both drivers are from Mönchengladbach. The new C22 boasts several improvements over last season's C21. It has a new gearbox, new suspension, and is significantly lighter, with better aerodynamics and greater stability at high speeds. The response to performances in testing have been very positive.
Well, I hope to improve myself all the time. That's my personal goal. That's very important, to try and learn from your mistakes. I hope that as a team we can fight for something like the 4th or 5th position, as we did for the last 2 years. And I think it's getting more and more difficult with those big teams being in Formula One, which have a lot more money and resources than we have.
They have changed the concept quite strongly. As a big step, what we have seen and what I have seen so far, the car is also very reliable, and so far, and it's looking quite good, I have to say.
Sauber's new venture, the creation of a state-of-the-art wind tunnel at his Hinwil headquarters, has been designed to be big enough to permit the testing of commercial vehicles as well as racing cars. A decision that proved again that Sauber keeps his feet on the ground and his eyes on the broader picture. With both car and personnel fresh and updated for 2003, expect Sauber to be making themselves heard when the Formula One season revs into action next month. Ferrari's Formula One champion Michael Schumacher drove the Italian team's new car on the factory's private test track for the first time and promptly set a new lap record. The news will not be welcome to Ferrari's rivals as the 2003 season approaches. The German driver completed a lap of the 2.97-kilometre circuit in 57.045 seconds behind the wheel of the team's recently unveiled F2003 GA model. That was 0.431 seconds faster than the previous track record, established in July with the old F2002 model. The Fiorano track may even be slower now after being resurfaced since then. The GA in the new model's name is in honour of Giovanni Agnelli, the former Fiat chairman who died last month. Fiat owns Ferrari, and the team's success was very important to their aristocratic patron. Watched by Ferrari president Luca de Montezemolo and test driver Luca Badour, Schumacher completed 20 laps before lunch with a best time 0.32 seconds faster than he drove last year's car on its first run last February. He then returned in the afternoon to break the record and complete a total of 78 laps.
Straight out of the box, it has shown great performance today and even great reliability. I think we did about 78 laps without any significant problem, and that's something which is a great achievement from everybody in the team, and I'm so proud for them and so happy for the car, honestly.
Schumacher was cautious about seeing too much into the fact that he'd set a new mark, but he couldn't hide his satisfaction with the car.
I mean, the basics feel obviously very well on the car. Saying about lap record, you just should be a little bit careful because we had this sort of resurface done since last year. So I don't want to put too much into those lap time, honestly. But the car is doing well.
However, Schumacher will begin the new season with the F2002. The new car will make its race debut at the San Marino Grand Prix at Imola, the 4th round in April. Coinciding with the start of the country's annual shopping festival, the Thousand Dunes Rally, the second round of the UAE National Rally Championship, got underway in Dubai. Obaid Al-Hathbour was the first driver to leave the podium after winning the prologue stage. But the reigning UAE champion dropped out during stage 6 with a broken oil pump. Another retirement was Sheikh Abdallah Al-Qasimi, winner of the first rally of the season. Ryan Baker had started the day in 3rd place but moved into the lead after a trouble-free day. Syed Al-Hamali overcame brake problems and a puncture in the second stage to keep the pressure on the leading cars. Briton David Mabbs also overcame mechanical problems and was in 2nd place at the end of day 1. He stayed in contention on day 2, despite spending most of the night replacing his gearbox. Baker held a convincing lead going into day 2's 5 special stages. He set the fastest time in each one to win the Thousand Dunes at his 7th attempt. Mabbs increased his lead over Al-Hamali in 3rd place to become the highest placed foreign driver in any Thousand Dunes rally. Syed Al-Majid was making his first appearance in the rally and finished in an impressive 4th place. Baker and his co-driver Nabil Ahmadi completed the 3-day rally 8 minutes ahead of Mabbs, while Al-Hamali was over 17 minutes off the pace. Baker has a 9-point lead over Mabbs at the top of the UAE Rally Championship. For the past 2 years, Team Bentley have been challenging to win the 24-hour Le Mans race. After coming 4th and 3rd in the last 2 seasons, they've launched their latest car, the Bentley Speed 8. Those behind the new car say it's got the potential to win. Bentley's owned by Volkswagen, and Brian Gush, Bentley's motorsport director, worked at Volkswagen's South African factory.
It's 98% all new, and we've refined every area that we could think of refining, so we were able to build a new car, and so everything that we thought needed improving, and the results of the testing have gone into this car to make it the best we can.
In the 1920s and 30s, the Bentley boys dominated Le Mans in their huge touring cars. There's another link to the past. It was South African diamond millionaire Wolf Bonato who kept the company afloat and winning. Now, ex-Formula One drivers David Brabham, Johnny Herbert and Mark Blundell are the latter-day Bentley boys.
I think with the last couple of years' experience that they have, I think it was a good time to join Bentley. And with the Speed 8, it's been changed so much from last year. And I think the experience that they've had and I've got, and with Mark and David, I think we've got a good chance of doing it.
I've won it before with another manufacturer. I know what it takes to get to the point of striving for the success at the end of the weekend, and I think Bentley have got what it takes now. And I've watched them for the last couple of seasons. They've had some very good results, but this year really is the be-all and end-all. The target is to go and win the race.
The Bentley team will be up against the all-conquering Audis, also owned by Volkswagen. In fact, Bentley will use an Audi engine. 2 new turbochargers and improved cooling and exhaust systems have seen the motor run a 24-hour test cycle with flying colours. But the team will be out to put British Racing Green back into the winner's spot after more than 70 years. General Motors are driving the technology and design boundaries with experimental cars like Autonomy and subsequent models, but things aren't always what they seem.
This is more than a technology and design exercise. This clearly is an example of GM thinking big. we're very serious about this type of technology as the forerunner for future vehicles.
Tired of driving? Just slide the controls across to your co-driver. Everything uses electrical connections in this drive-by-wire design. Highwire is the latest product of a global cooperation. GM designers and engineers in the US developed the chassis and body design, and the engineering and electrical systems too. Engineers at GM's research facility in Germany built the fuel cell propulsion system, designed for the Hydrogen 3 concept car, based on an Opel Zafira, and shown for the first time at the 2001 Frankfurt show. American designers also worked closely with Italian design house Bertone in Turin, where the body was built. The SKF group, based in Sweden, developed the drive-by-wire technology in the Netherlands and in Italy. With Highwire, they took the latest evolution of the technology and repackaged it into an innovative drivable vehicle, comparable in size and weight to today's luxury cars.
This car is the world's first drivable vehicle based on two very exciting technologies: fuel cells, and then steering, braking, and accelerating electrically rather than with mechanical controls. We call it Highwire, for hydrogen by wire.
A single docking port provides the electrical connection between the all-aluminium chassis and the fiberglass body. Mechanically, there are 10 body attachment linkages. There's no engine to see over, no pedals to operate, merely a single unit called X-Drive. The fuel cell stack, which produces a continuously available power of 94 kilowatts, is at the back of the vehicle. Most of the skateboard-like chassis is about 11 inches thick, tapering to 9 inches at the edges. The electrical motor drives the front wheels and is installed transversely between them. 3 cylindrical storage tanks rated to 5,000 psi or 350 bars are located centrally in the chassis. Over the last 4 years, the size and weight of the fuel cell stack has decreased for a given power by a factor of 10, with a tenfold reduction in cost. GM's latest generation stack has a capacity of 1.75 kilowatts per hour, the highest power output by any fuel cell developer to date. Big improvements in sub-zero temperature startups have been achieved too.
Well, let's imagine a vehicle that doesn't have an engine in the front, so that whole area is left wide open. Imagine a vehicle that doesn't have a transmission or axles as we know them. Imagine a vehicle in which you don't even have an instrument panel. And then imagine that vehicle able to be refueled at home using hydrogen created either from water and electricity that you have at home or by reforming natural gas.
Having no bulky engine and fewer mechanical parts frees up space for occupants and luggage, along with the other benefits.
Well, by-wire meets many of the requirements in cars of the future. By-wire systems are more environmentally friendly. They're more safe. They give the vehicle designer much more flexibility to be able to have a whole new type of design within a vehicle.
This is just the second interpretation of many to come. It's not impossible that a variety of largely plastic bodies could be interchanged in minutes to completely transform the vehicle, say, from a working utility to a sporting roadster or the family bus, all on the same underpinnings. Of course, this is still just a technology exercise, and practicalities like crash safety and the compromises required by cost-effective mass production haven't really been considered. In reality, the low-set transparent panel at the front might not meet safety or consumer approval, although it would make parking a lot easier. Similarly, that vast sloping screen would probably not please buyers in hot, sunny countries, unless it was also photochromatic and changed color to shield the interior from heat. Most conventional cars are built using a monocoque shell, and the separate chassis only really still exists for heavy-duty applications such as trucks, or on some older or more rugged four-wheel drives. So it's interesting to see that the designs of the future may revert back to having a separate chassis, which houses the entire drivetrain and to which the passenger capsule or body is attached with a few pins and a couple of electrical plugs. The wide opening doors give great access, but in reality, safety concerns and retaining a stiffness to the body may require a central pillar. Having said that, Mazda's new RX-8 has met the practical requirements, so clearly it can be done. However, redefining the way in which we control vehicles may be a bit more of a challenge, and the sterility of the drive-by-wire system will surely remove any feel from the experience. Perhaps designers will have to put in a PlayStation-type sensation, but the xDrive system is an interesting exercise in alternatives. The xDrive, which controls the car electronically rather than mechanically, provides the option to brake and accelerate with either the right or left hand. The driver accelerates by twisting either of the hand grips, motorcycle style, and brakes by squeezing the brake actuator on the grips. They slide up and down for steering. So, that's what we'll be driving in the future. If only they could make it sound a bit more exciting. The 2003 Indoor Trials World Championship reached its halfway stage when Turin hosted the Italian Grand Prix. 5,500 spectators were on hand for the 6th Grand Prix of the season and witnessed a fantastic qualifying lap display by Adam Raga of Spain. The current Indoor Trials title leader picked up just 2 penalty points over the 6-section course to finish the qualifying leg in first place. Raga of the Gas team then boosted his chances of clinching the World Championship by winning the 4-man final. A 4th victory of the season increases Raga's championship lead to 7 points. Dougie Lamkin trails Raga in the title. He was second after the qualifying lap on his Honda Montesa with 8 penalties, but picked up 6 more than Raga on the final lap. His 16-point total made the 2 head-to-head races with Raga, both of which the Briton won, irrelevant. But the 17 championship points for second place keep Lamkin in the hunt for a 6th indoor title. Third place would go to Lamkin's teammate Mark Frischer. The Spaniard eased Capostani's grip on third place in the championship, trimming the reigning world champion's lead from 14 points after round 5 to just 9. Does this count? Frischer held third place and advanced to the final, where he finished level on 19 points with Graham Jarvis. Jarvis lost out on a podium place in a tiebreaker when the British Sherco rider picked up more penalty points than Frischer and had to settle for 4th place. Capostani finished a disappointing 6th at the end of the qualifying lap, and his chances of retaining the world title have all but gone. Raga will look to increase his championship lead when the Indoor Trials title chase moves to Vienna in Austria. Over 220 quad bike racers took part in this year's 3-hour enduro across the wide flat sand of the beach at Le Touquet in northern France. The race was over a 6-kilometre course and was started by desert racing champion Hubert Auriol, now the director of the Dakar Rally. Going to the seaside in February isn't usually that popular, but thousands of spectators turned out to watch. This is the 28th year the Madcap race has been held, although the sand-churning quads were only racing for the 7th time. Quad races are part high-performance motorcycle and part high-tech racing car, with sophisticated independent suspension, lightweight, lots of power and good grip. Their drawbacks are their relative lack of top speed and, as many riders found out, their width when they do get stuck. Mitsubishi Rally racers Jean-Pierre Fontenay and 6 times bike section Dakar winner Stefan Peterhansel also took part. Fontenay would finish 161st, while Peterhansel, partnered by Jean-Claude Olivier, the chairman and managing director of Yamaha Motor France, would claim 43rd despite crashing and losing time in the pits. The Dutch pair of Joe Meissen and Ronnie Smits took an early lead and held it for 9 laps until they were forced to slow with mechanical trouble that cost them 10 laps to finish in 190th place. On the 14th lap, last year's winning team, Frenchmen Blaise Parent and Vincent Pichon, took the lead on their Yamaha Banshee. Vincent started the race and they changed riders at the single fuel stop, a strategy that had worked the previous year. In 2000, the pair finished the event in second. He'd barely finished the race before he was asked if it had been a tactical event.
Yes, it's true, we managed the race. Vincent went ahead, and then I could continue, and it was perfect. I was able to go at my pace without tiring.
Capri and Fournier was second, followed by Rochereau and Lausanne. The next day, 959 bike riders took off on 12 laps of the 15-kilometre course, said by some to be the world's biggest motorcycle race. Nicholas Kai grabbed the hole shot, holding his Kawasaki flat out with his unusual riding style. But from the wide open beach, the course tightened up and the surface got softer. Even a pessimistic weather forecast didn't deter hundreds of thousands of spectators who turned out. The race, led at different times by 5 different competitors, was full of drama and frequent twists and turns. Thierry Baptiste, second last year, struggled through the pack of riders, many of whom had got bogged on the first lap and were lapped more than once. Baptiste chose to stop only twice for fuel, a gamble in the heavy, power-sapping conditions, which some riders found extra heavy when helped by others. Around 500 of the riders only completed 5 laps or less during the race. The leader from the 6th lap onwards, Arnaud Demister, dropped back on the penultimate lap. He was looking for a record-equaling 5th victory, but he was handicapped from lap 4 by the loss of his rear brakes. Baptiste, who was 2 minutes behind Demister on lap 10, took advantage of the champion's 3rd stop and brake problems to grab the lead and keep it all the way to the finish. At the finish, there was only a 52-second gap between them, and only the first 3 riders finished on the same lap. A disappointed Demister had held on to take 2nd place. Yves Dudon ran a steady race for the full 12 laps. He was never lower than 5th to come in 3rd. Finally, British car manufacturers have been celebrating 20 years of compulsory seat belts, with a look at past and future efforts to improve safety. Transport Secretary Alistair Darling heard that annual deaths and injuries on Britain's roads have halved over the 2 decades. He saw a demonstration showing how strong the modern belt can be. 20 years ago, impact testing began with eggs strapped in for very basic laboratory tests. Things progressed with crude crash test dummies used to show what happens in a sudden stop. And in those days, smoking wasn't dangerous either. Improved techniques were gradually introduced. Now, crash test dummies give computer readouts on body and leg impacts. Car makers spend millions on simulated and real crash tests to improve occupant and pedestrian safety. Various tests are done to mimic real-life situations like this offset frontal head-on crash.
The seatbelt is part of a range of technologies that are available on modern vehicles. Yes, it provides protection, as do airbags, as do side impact protection. At the end of the day, it comes down to the person behind the wheel, how they drive. In the UK, it's not complacency, but we do have one of the lowest rates of accident and injury. In fact, we're the world's best when it comes to accidents. We have the least number per 100,000 population.
Computers are used to design and test protection panels inside modern cars, such as this curtain airbag. Car safety is still evolving, and innovative safety technology now being installed in new vehicles includes side impact panels and cushions, not only for the head, but also for the elbows and arms. Airbags for the occupant's feet and on the bonnet to protect pedestrians are also under consideration. But none of it works properly if you haven't done up the safety belt in the first place. The season's nearly on us. The desert and dunes are waiting, and some may make it look easy. But so you stay on track and up to speed, make sure you catch next week's Drive.